Hello, welcome to the West Side Podcast. This is where we'll post some of our audio from our sermons on Sunday, and we're so glad that you're here. Westside's vision is to reconcile people to God through the grace of Jesus step by step. We hope you enjoy, and thanks for tuning in. Woohoo, people! Hey, people. Okay, I don't know about you, but unlike Joshua, I have had 2 peppermint mochas thus far. Yeah, not today. Thankfully, not today. That'd be too much caffeine for me. But on Thanksgiving, I did have one, and then the day after, I also had another one. So the Advent season has started for me. Like Joshua said, each year we focus on a different theme for Advent, our Advent season. And this year, we're focusing on peace. Again, like Joshua said, Sophie, Joshua, and I are going to hit on different aspects of peace and why it's important for our time this season. I know Joshua will have a sermon that's a little more in depth about what the meaning of peace is, what shalom means. But today specifically, I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about what peace can look like specifically in our relationships, in our community. Again, we're going to say it so many times, we're in a season where the word peace is a major theme in the time of our Advent, Christmas season. We're doing it right now. We're talking about peace. We're talking about Advent, the Christmas season, the holiday season. Like we said, it's a lot of hustle and bustle, but it's also a time and a reminder to slow down, to enjoy time with friends and with family, and be reminded of what we are thankful for, like we just did during Thanksgiving. And especially in the Christian life, we remember the peace that was given to us, the birth of Jesus. But on the other hand, the Christmas holiday season can also be quite a reminder to a lot of us, maybe the lack of peace in our personal lives, in our world, in our country, in our day-to-day. The opposite of peace is conflict. And the holiday season can heighten those conflicts, right? You all just came from Thanksgiving. I don't know what that looked like for you, but it may have not been a lot of peace. When we're with the people, family, friends, chosen, not chosen, we have a choice to try and live in peace with one another or not. So here are the places that it's pretty hard to find peace sometimes. We may find it hard to find peace in our families, our friendships, homes, church, people who think differently than us, people who frustrate us, people who test our patience, people who have wounded us, people who have power over us, people who don't see the world the way we do. Those are the places that it can be hard to find peace. Most, if not all of those things have to do with people, right? Relational peace can be one of the greatest challenges of living a life that follows Jesus or not. People, we're around people no matter what. So those are the places that can have those conflicts and have not a peaceful situation. But the Bible talks about it constantly and clearly and hopes to help us maybe figure out a bit more or give us the tools to pursue peace as well. When Scripture talks about peace, especially in the New Testament, it's almost always relational. It's peace with someone, peace among people, peace between groups, peace inside community. And today we're going to look at 3 passages surrounding the idea of peace and relationships in community. So here are the 3 things that we're going to hit. Peace as personal responsibility, peace as intentional pursuit, peace formed by transformed character. All of this, of course, powered by peace himself, Jesus. So first we're going to look at Romans 12:18 for peace as personal responsibility. The verse says, "If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone." So before we get into this verse, let's go back in time together a little bit and remind ourselves of our time together in Romans. Joshua spent many months leading us through the book of Romans. And look, here we are getting to reference back. Love how that works. Great. We learned about Romans. Here we are. So I'll just give you a tiny context recap of what is going on in Romans. So here we read Paul writing to one of the early churches on some relational issues that were going on there. Paul isn't writing this to people who already agree. He's writing to the Jewish Christians and Gentiles in the early church who were struggling to even be in the same room. There's a lot of conflict going on with these 2 groups. The Jewish Christians loved Jesus, but they were deeply shaped by the Torah and Jewish customs. So to them, these laws weren't just rules. They were part of their identity and thus a crucial part of their faith, right? So that's very important to them. So when Gentiles came to faith in Jesus, the Jewish believers expected them to take on the same practices, which were things like circumcision, food laws, Sabbath regulations, cultural markers that were very important to them. The Gentile believers didn't grow up with Jewish customs, so practices like these felt foreign and unnecessary to them. These customs weren't part of their culture or identity already, and they didn't see them as essential to following Jesus, right? And that caused a lot of issues between the Jews and the Gentiles. They were not seeing eye to eye. But Paul's message was this for them: Jesus fulfilled the law, therefore we are made righteous the same way, through him, not through cultural performance. So Paul is saying you can keep your cultural practices if they matter to you, and Gentiles can follow Jesus without becoming culturally Jewish, and you can still love each other, worship God together, and be united in Christ still. So here we are. When Paul gets to Romans 12, he lays out what a spirit-formed community looks like to the Jews and the Gentiles, to say this is how you should live together. And verses 9 through 21 are all relational. Be devoted to one another, honor one another above yourselves, bless those who persecute you, rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn. No matter your differences, this is what I call you to do. And in the middle of that, he says, if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. So this is Paul saying to them, it is possible to live at peace with people who think differently, live differently, have different backgrounds, disagree with you, hold open fist issues differently. I in my times of speaking, I may have done the illustration of the closed fist and the open fist kind of framework, but I'll give you a little insight to where my brain goes when I say that. We hold a closed fist for things essential for our faith. Jesus is Lord, love God, love neighbor. Everything else, essentially, can be an open fist. Worship style, Bible translation, spiritual gifts, politics, secondary doctrine, cultural preferences, parenting styles, personality differences, generation gaps, opinions on social issues, et cetera, et cetera. Because if we're loving God, loving people, Jesus is Lord, right, we can agree on those things. But these three things, by that we are whole and bound together by Christ, not by having identical perspectives, right? And even when we disagree on the closed-fisted things, we are still called to peace. And in fact, could one argue that that's where peace is needed the most? When we disagree on these things, how are we to represent what we believe and what we preach well if we're not living and breathing examples of peace? And how are people to see and know Jesus if his followers cannot cultivate peace? So that's what I mean when I say those things. And Paul is trying to be honest here. He's honest to the Jews and the Gentiles, saying, he acknowledges it. It's not going to be easy. Peace is not going to be easy because these things are the hard things in life, right? These are the things where conflict arise. He's saying peace won't always be easy. It won't always be mutual. It won't always be clean. It might not always be reciprocated. But you are responsible for your part. Peace begins with your posture, not the posture or the response of someone else, right? So he emphasizes our part. As far as it depends on you. You cannot control their tone, someone else's decisions, their maturity, effort, willingness, opinions, responses. But what can we control? What can you control? Your posture, humility, apologies, willingness to listen, prayers, tone, attitude. The word peace here that we're looking at in Greek, I was going to ask you the pronunciation of these things before I said them. Well, let me give it a try. The word peace here in Greek, I'm trying to be Joshua here a little bit, but it's so important. The word peace here in Greek is the word ereneuo. Ooh, okay, great. Ereneuo. There you go. Woo! I spoke Greek. Yay! Woo! Love it. Which means not the absence of conflict, but to actively create and cultivate harmony. I think that's a very good distinction because we like to think the opposite of peace is conflict, yes, but what does peace mean here? What words are Paul describing when he's saying peace? To actively create and cultivate harmony. Peace is not passive, not avoidance. It's not waiting for things to blow over, but actively making a relational peace. Peace isn't passive. It's not ignoring our problems, avoiding conflict, pretending you're fine, sweeping things under the rug. I have a lot of friends and family here today, and they're all going to be giving me a death glare because this is how I like to live peace. So don't look at me. Peace is stepping toward the conversation, apologizing first, choosing unity over pride, holding your tongue, refusing to gossip, assuming the best, and initiating reconciliation. Those are the differences between a peacemaker and a peacekeeper. And I want to clarify, peace is not staying in a harmful or abusive situation or relationship. That's not what I'm saying. That's not peace. Or even tolerating one. That's not peace. Sometimes the most peaceful thing you can do is to step back from the situation with wisdom, right? So it's taking a look at the situation before deciding, what can I do to keep the peace here? How can I cultivate the peace here? So what does that look like for us? Paul's asking, am I doing my part? Am I taking responsibility for my tone, my reactions, my pride? Am I pursuing reconciliation where I can? Am I building bridges instead of walls? Peace starts with me, empowered by Christ in me. So continuing on into Hebrews 12:14, we'll look at peace as intentional pursuit. First, how can I hold peace, and how can I seek peace? How can I have an intentional pursuit for peace? This verse says, make every effort to live in peace with everyone and to be holy. In Hebrews, we don't know who the author is. It could be Paul, it could be one of his coworker buds, who knows? But we do know that this letter is written to believers who are tired, discouraged, and tempted to drift away from Jesus. The author is encouraging them to keep going, keep believing, keep pursuing God. And Hebrews 12 is an encouragement to endure, stay focused on Jesus, and not to lose heart. And in the middle, the author says, make every effort to live in peace with all men and to be holy. Make every effort in Greek, here we go, another one, you guys. Make every effort in Greek is dioko. Amazing. God, this is so easy. I should know. I got. Just kidding. I'll take your Greek class and then I can say that or not. So dioko, which means to chase, to run after, to hunt down, to pursue intensely. So not just make every effort, go for it. It's the same used word for persecute, but flipped for good, which is interesting because persecute's a very intense word. But switching it out for good. So it means chasing peace as hard as those who chase after their enemies. So it's just giving more, intensity, gravity to the word, make every effort. So we get to the understanding that peace requires effort. The author is saying, don't wait for peace. Don't just hope for peace. Don't assume peace will happen. Go after it, hunt it down, work for it. Peace doesn't just drift into our lives. It's not just going to come and be easy. We have to work for it. Without effort in peace, misunderstandings grow, assumptions grow, grudges grow, irritation grows, distance grows. But chasing peace doesn't mean being a doormat. That's something that I do a bad job at. Doesn't mean being a doormat. Doesn't mean avoiding truth or avoiding necessary conversations. Biblical peace is not fake harmony. It's real reconciliation shaped by holiness. Which leads me to the part of the verse where it talks about holiness. Holiness. The author connects peace to holiness. Peace to holiness. Peace and holiness. Not peace instead of holiness. Peace at the cost of holiness. Peace without holiness. So peace and holiness, why? Because holiness, being like Jesus, shapes how we see people, treat people, and respond to people. I'm going to say that again. Being holy, being like Jesus, shapes how we see people, how we treat people, and how we respond to people. Holiness destroys pride, bitterness, defensiveness, harshness, superiority. But holiness creates humility, compassion, forgiveness, gentleness, and patience. You cannot have true peace in community without the holiness of Jesus forming in your heart. So why is this important? Why is this so important? The verse goes on to say, without holiness, no one will see the Lord. In all my 29 years of reading the Bible and reading this verse, I think I always read that passage as without holiness, no one will see the Lord. I think in my heart, I read it as, if I'm not holy, I will not see the Lord. If I'm not holy, I do not get a chance at seeing the Lord. But that is totally missing the point. Doing a little more research and reading, this is how it's interpreted. The world won't see Jesus because we quote scripture, go to church, are a nice person, wear certain clothes, try to convince people we're right, give money to the right places, vote a certain way. But people will see Jesus because we treat people with grace, treat people with patience, with unity and forgiveness. Those are the ways that people will see Jesus. Without holiness, without treating people with grace, patience, unity, and forgiveness, that is when people will see, or if we don't use those things, people will not see Jesus. We will see Jesus when we treat people with those virtues. When we choose peace, we reveal the heart of Jesus to the people around us. It requires intentional pursuit. So let's keep talking more about how we do this. Going on into Colossians 3:12-15. Peace from transformed character. Let's read this together. It's a little bit longer. Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Sound familiar? Bear with each other and forgive whatever grievances you may have against one another. Forgive us as the Lord forgave you, and over all these virtues put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you were called to be peace and be thankful. So here's Paul, once again, writing to an early church. Paul is certain to remind them of their identity first. He's reminding the early church, where do you come from? Where is your identity? Paul reminds them, you are chosen, you are holy, you are dearly loved. And that's a great reminder for ourselves, right? Everything he's about to ask them to do flows from that identity first. So let that be a reminder for you as well. Our identity starts there. You're not creating peace to earn God's approval. You're creating peace because you already have it. It's already in you. You are not creating peace to earn God's approval. I think that's a great reminder. Especially, I don't know what your upbringing was or what things were told to you, but a lot of times we feel like we have to earn God's love or earn God's approval or earn the things of our relationship with Him, and that's just not true. If anyone hasn't told that to you yet, that's just not true. You're creating peace because you already have it, because you are the image of God. The virtues that create community peace tell us this. Paul gives us a list of virtues that create peace within a community. Compassion, seeing people. Kindness, blessing people. Humility, lowering ourselves. Gentleness, treating people tenderly. Patience, giving people room. Forgiveness, releasing people and yourself. Love, binding everything together. These are the relational virtues that create community peace. These virtues transform you, and that transformation creates peace around you. Now, the key verse here is verse 15. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. Peace is the same Greek word we looked at in Romans, meaning, you remember what it means, right? Yeah. But the word rule here in Greek means, here's another one. This is a hard one. Brabueto. Yeah, great, okay. Remember that. So the word rule here means that Greek word. But but it means, which translates to an athletic term for umpire or referee who's making the final decision in a game, which I have to ask you about because I'm thinking this word is used in the Greek. Did they have referees and umpires back in those times? Like, I'm sure in some fashion we were just using different words. But anyways, thought that was interesting. We'll do a Greek lesson later. So this word rule means umpire or referee who's making the final decision in a game. Therefore, Paul is saying, while practicing these virtues, lastly, let the peace of Jesus, who is in you, be the last arbiter in your heart, making the final judgment and decisions in whatever life has put in front of you. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. Let not your emotions, your anger, your assumptions, your triggers, your fears, your insecurities, pride, offense, but let Christ's peace make the final decision in your tone, your reactions, your boundaries, your forgiveness, conflict, social media posts, family conversations, disagreements, judgments. What if before reacting, before speaking, before texting, before assuming the worst, before getting defensive, you pause and asked, what does the peace of Christ say about this? What if Christ's peace made the call instead of my emotions? Right before going off or maybe doing something you regret or getting upset, what does Christ's peace say about this? What is the peace that is already in me saying about this? If you've ever watched sports, as you know, I'm a soccer fan, soccer player. When two different teammates hopefully it's not teammates, two different opponents are going at it, the referee comes in hopefully before a punch is thrown or something goes wrong, right? So a referee, beautiful picture behind me. The referee's coming in and saying, okay, before this gets crazy, let's figure this out, have a conversation, whatever, leave, before something gets a little too crazy. I will say that doesn't really work for hockey, though, because they throw punches and the referees just let them punch each other. So for hockey, this doesn't work. But for soccer and maybe other sports, referee comes in. Christ's peace does the same in us. If you leave today and all you remember is that referees equal Christ's peace, I did a good job. Christ's peace does the same in us. That referee comes in and stops it before it gets worse and creates peace. It stops reactions before they happen. It prevents explosions. It keeps us from acting out in our anger. And remember, and I want you to hear me when I say this. It keeps us from acting out on our anger. It's not that anger is bad. Anger is a good emotion that we have, that we've been given to help us regulate and feel our things, but it helps us keep from acting on our anger. Then Paul ends with this. And be thankful. How perfect for the end of Thanksgiving going into our Advent season. And be thankful. Gratitude is the atmosphere where peace thrives. With a happy heart, a grateful heart, that is where peace thrives. A grateful heart is hard to offend, slow to anger, soft, and open. I'm going to wrap up here in a second, so I'll have the band come up. So a little looking back at what we talked about. We talked about peace as personal responsibility, peace as intentional pursuit, peace formed by transformed character. So within the context, which all of this is in the context of peace in relationships and community. And here is the beautiful truth. We pursue peace because Jesus is our peace. We pursue peace because Jesus is our peace. It quite literally says in Ephesians 2:14, he himself is our peace. If you are not feeling the peace that's already inside of you, we can trust and we can know and we can feel comforted that Jesus is our peace. He made peace between us and God. He makes peace possible between us and others. His Spirit forms peace inside us so peace can flow through us. Peace is a person, Jesus. And when his Spirit fills us, his peace fills us, his peace transforms us, leads us, flows into our relationships, and shapes our community. Peace in relationships start here. Peace from Christ, which produces peace within me, which produces peace with others, which creates peace in community. And let's not forget The focus this Advent season, the birth of Jesus didn't come into a peaceful world. It came into tension, division, oppression, and unmet expectations. Peace was born where peace was impossible. Advent is the announcement that peace is not the absence of conflict, it's the presence of Christ in the middle of it. It's the presence of Christ in the midst of chaos. How will you pursue peace in your life? Here are some reflection questions. How will you pursue peace in your life? Where do you need the peace of Christ to rule in your life? And lastly, are you willing to allow the peace of Jesus to transform you and fuel you in order to live in peace with others? Thanks so much for tuning in, and we hope the sermon inspired you in one way or another. If you'd like to stay connected with us, feel free to hit the Contact Us button on our website. Let us know who you are and send us any questions or prayer requests you may have. Or visit us in person at Prairie Mountain School in Eugene, Oregon at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram to stay updated on all things Westside. We'll see you next time.